back to your number one top for PSO2 New Genesis gameplay, how-tos, and all of that jazz. And today I'm here to discuss Chapter 5 of PSO2 New Genesis, and we just finally got the last bit of the story content in the new semi-expansion that we literally just got yesterday in the game. And of course, if you want to check out my whole playthrough of it, I'll link above because we did stream it here on YouTube and over on Twitch. But nonetheless, my opinion of this expansion without spoiling anything for any of you that haven't had a chance to hop in, or just want to know there's something good to come back to actually experience. So let's go ahead and just start off with a basic synopsis of what you're going to be actually getting in this expansion. So of course, this expansion itself is the finale to what would be counted as episode 1, to the point that you only get credits afterward with your night. Now we know who exactly working on PSO, so that is, good to actually finally have. But with that being said, this is the end of the storyline up to that point and the beginning of what comes after. As far as the content beyond that, it pretty much made up of a handful of fights and a very straightforward story for the most part of point A to point B to point C, and then credit. This is not anything too drastic. This is no new region, no new overall battle sectors or training others, none of that stuff. This is 100% a story expansion, and we do get at least a new area plus a new boss area for, of course, the finale that may or may not become an origin quest. We have no idea at the time of the video. Some of this stuff might become content later down the road, but for right now, once you go through the story, that is it. There is no type of content here if you want to do stuff with friends or anything. This is 100% story stuff. But with that being said, though, the story itself is, I guess the best way to put it would be, on one hand, it answers a lot of the questions that a lot of you might have about NGS, or hell, any bait PSO in a lot of ways. So we do have ourselves a continuation here, and overall, makes sense how we got here. But it does have a little bit of shortcoming. Of course, we do still have some of the inconsistency with certain lines of dialogue, pretty much being talked as we have known about that the whole time, which we haven't. So we still have a little bit of translation stuff there that's a little funky, as well as, of course, with some of the new characters that I had introduced, it kind of feels more like a plot convenience or a character that may or may not become, important later down the road. It's just a little sloppy as far as getting up from point A to point B. But with that being said, once you are actually in the story and you're progressing through what would be the final arc here, it pretty much do deliver on everything that I personally was hoping for. Any with it, a little bit of inconsistency and some of the writing not being the most best in the series by any means. But this is a fantastic closure to the part of the story. And in return, actually, instead of feeling like previous expansions I have played, story felt very much one-of-the-mill of once you got into it, oh, okay, so this is happening. Okay, I see, we gotta do this, this, and that. Understand, let's go. Well, at least this time around is with them answering questions and introducing certain ideals of what came before and what will be coming after this. Does pretty much, at least for me, open up a lot more put a tinfoil hat, capitalizing, making fanfic of where they could be going next and how stuff is connected. And I have to say, out of all the expansion we have up to this point we have had, this one have probably done the best job of that, as far as making me question and actually start trying to put things together more so than any previous story. So, fantastic job on that end. But when it comes to the actual content itself, it is still pretty much at the end of the day of wanting from point A to point B, kill X number of enemy with cutscenes in between. And then, of course, after that, just pretty much just being a boss fight. So don't expect any type of giant improvement to mechanic or gameplay or introducing quests or anything. Sadly, it's not really any of that. It's still walk forward, kill X enemy, walk forward, fight a boss. With that being said, as far as the final boss is concerned, I do got to give them credit of it being a boss that actually was kind of challenging. It's the fourth time I have actually died on a boss itself since originally Alio we leaked back in the day. But then again, the Alio thing might have been because the game was so buggy I couldn't upgrade my equipment for like a month. But, you know, take that as you will, I guess. But with this boss, I did have a little bit of trouble in the finale. But with that being said, I did get it into try, so it is a little more challenging. Which is more than I can say about 90% of the content before this anyway. So at least that is something to look forward to. And honestly, I really hope moving forward this will be content that will be able to be played with friends. Hopefully, as well as some of the point A to point B stuff does give a lot more of a PSO2 appellation recommended quest vibe to it. So hopefully this is a sign of maybe some of that maybe coming back into play inside of NGS, but we will have to wait and see on that one. But overall itself, I do gotta say, anyway, all the shortcomings and the little confusionness here and there and awkwardness here and there is, I still stand what I have said before of NGS truly do feel, especially now seeing how episode 1 quote unquote actually ends, does have a very similar vibe to the way episode 1 did in PSO2. For any of you who actually played the story or played PSO2, you will know that, at least from the way I always looked at it, of like the full half of episode 1 was just like odd, kind of dumb, a little confusing, like a little bit like just wandering around, never feel like anything being answered, with a whapping of just, you know, confusing with the translation writing. And the last half of episode 1, or at least the last, I would say probably last 10 missions or so, very much story kind of coming together and actually feeling like a story. And I can say that the same thing with NGS here. Well, a lot of the stuff that we've been building up to that point is a little bit one-of-the-mill, to the point of not seeing a crossover to the final part. And the final part do pull it together. But just be warned, might not be to the same satisfaction you was hoping, because there is still certain questions and certain theories that is very much left up in the air. And the ending itself of what's going to be coming next is interesting, but still have some of the frustration tied to, I guess, the character themselves actually reacting to what is happening in a productive way, and they kind of don't. So just be warned, there is still a lot of awkwardness here in this. But if you are someone who have had questions or interested in just PSO2 NGS as a whole story, this is something that I do recommend coming back for. Just be warned, the story itself, you're only going to be looking at about 2 to 3 hours, and nothing like too insane. And once again, don't bet any insane new gameplay or equipment or monsters or anything of that sort, because if we did, in the case of monster, we do have like 1 or 2 new monster designs. It's probably going to be stuff that may or may not ever be used ever again beyond it. So we will have to wait and see. So overall, my opinion of this expansion, or the finale to episode 1 with chapter 5, is if you are someone who is mainly wanting to come back to PSO or play PSO for like mechanics and items and leveling, you're not going to be getting any of that in this expansion. But if you're someone who cares about the PSO2 and NGS like story, lore, and character, and you have questions, and you okay dealing with some of the awkwardness, I 100% say this is a expansion that need to be played, and probably is the best story content we have had in NGS up to that point. And also with the build up of what comes next, is at that point I can say I honestly don't know where exactly they're going to be heading beyond a bait concept. So this is very much feel like a very much clean reset for NGS as a whole of what kind of story they want to tell, because obviously we are officially done doing like kind of half-at world building with character building to the much as we have had, once again, take that as you will. Well, we went from that type of context now to a point where it feels like a plot can actually begin. Will it be a good plot? Once again, we want to wait and see. But we are at a point where they could go very good, or very bad, or anywhere in between, and we just gonna have to wait and see, at least on the story side. Gameplay stuff, still what it is, so nothing this and there, so that is how I'm feeling. So let me know in the comment below how exactly you are feeling about this expansion, if you had a chance to actually try it, or are you interested in finally getting probably like 80-90% of closure. Let me know below. And of course, while you are down there, make sure you do the thumbs up, subscribe, hit all the wonderful bells below for any more PSO2 and MMO content, and any more breakdown of lores and update, because I'm interested. I'm interested to see where they go, and I'm hoping for the best. We will see what comes of it. But for now, that's going to go ahead and do it for me. But I do want to give a very special thank you to everybody that is supporting over on at patreon.com/Maconn, subscribing over on twitch.tv/TroyMaconn, or by hitting the memberships here on YouTube. Thank you, my dudes, and a big thank you to 1K for supporting at the Lunatil. And with that, I'm out and about, and I will see you in the comments.